Hi guys, and welcome. Thanks for coming out here. One good thing we've all got in common here is we're all very passionate about our dogs, otherwise you wouldn't be giving up your lovely time to come and listen to the stranger over here. But I've been doing this all my life. I've been blessed. I've always had a kind of a path that was very clear to me. I've got a bit of structure here, so I'm going to quickly run through what I'm going to try and cover, some of the points. I know we've all busy lives, so if you've only got a small amount of time here and you sneak off, I'm not offended, you know, I get it. But I'm going to talk a little bit. I don't really like this part. Kind of feels like I'm going to pat myself on the back or my own ego, but my wife told me, the boss told me, I have to tell you a little bit about myself. So the introduction about me and how I understood this technique and how I put it in place and where I learned it from. Okay. So once I've chewed through that and you learned a little bit about me, I will talk about these very rare places, becoming rarer and rarer, these off-lead dog areas, and how we can use them and what are some of the issues we're having with them, and I'd love to hear some feedback on them. Then I'm going to go into what I know about dogs, and I've dedicated my life to wildlife and domestic animals. It's all I've done all my life, and I've never done any other job. So I have got some time and experience I've put in place here. So I broke it down to three kind of categories, what a dog is. I'm going to talk about body language and energy, and I call this the universal language. Because I've lived in nature so long, I believe there's only actually one language in the universe, and it's energy and body language. And I think humans, unfortunately, at an early age have turned our back on it. And I'm going to try and reintroduce as quickly as I can in a short time how they communicate and how simple we can communicate to them through energy and body language. Triggers, what are triggers? Sometimes you're out here with your dog and somebody's throwing a tennis ball and your dog loves tennis balls and it shoots over and grabs the tennis ball, but it's somebody else's dog and they have a little bit of a disgruntled, whatever else. So how do we spot triggers? How do we control triggers before it escalates? And I'll go through a little bit about that. Okay, that's page 1 down. Page 2 is, I'm going to talk a little bit about my training and scenarios. So with my training technique, goes right beside it is setting up scenarios so we can catch triggers. I call it the gun effect. There's a trigger and a bullet. And when a dog, or the red zone, a lot of trainers call it the red zone. When your dog's in a red zone, you're not training anymore, you're just trying to salvage a situation. Okay, so I'd like to talk a little bit about how we set up scenarios so we aren't compromise our own energy and our own behavior and our own body language, so we can actually catch the trigger in a very calm, kind of like a pack leader way, so the dog understands it. Okay, so then we go into the dog parks. What do we think the dog parks are here for? What are some of the issues? Do we think it's just to let our dog off and run around like crazy and burn off all the energy? So that's going to be a little bit of a subject about the park here, and then how to structure a dog before we go to a park. Do we have the foundations on a dog before we even go into a park? And do we just, the dog sees all the triggers, oh, I'm going to the dog park, get in the car. And then you open the door and boom, it's off to go and socialize. It's like a bullet, okay, shooting out the car. And so how do we help our dog community? I know you might be thinking, some people say, oh, my dog's perfectly trained. I've got no issues with my dog. It's everybody else. But even your dog, even if it's a perfectly trained dog, can trigger other dogs. Maybe it's an old dog, you know, beside its owner, and a young bouncy dog's bouncing around it. The old dog lifting its lip, saying, I want some space, give me some space. You know, and that's actually snowballing into a triggering the old dog for protecting its own space. It's a natural thing for an older dog to do to a younger dog in nature, just to put them back in their place. And if we're on the phone, or if we're having a chat and ignoring our dog's behavior, we're not seeing what's happening, and we can't even say, okay, I can see there's something happening over here, I'll call my dog back, and we'll go and play over here with some younger dogs. Maybe that's the right energy for my dog to be in, instead of harassing an older dog. So even though your dog might be perfectly well behaved, we still have responsibility for everybody else in our little dog park as well, and reading the situation. So that's what I'm going to try and illuminate. So I'm going to start, and then actually lastly I'm going to talk about when you're in a dog park and it does kick off. Okay, there's two dogs kicking off, and how should we react? Now there's no Harry Potter wand. You know, you've let your dog space, it's in front of you, dog's now got all the power. You've lost all your power when you're behind the dog, unless you've got it really well trained, and it's making its own decisions. So if it does get triggered by another dog and it goes in for a bit of an argument, how best should we use our body language to control that? Do you rush in and try and rip them apart? Well, sometimes that can help it. Sometimes that can be the worst thing if you've got two other dogs and they see that as a lead into attack and they back you up. And it can go horribly wrong, and I've got some scars on my body where I learned the hard way as a very young person. Okay, anyway, that's the rundown. That was just the introduction, what we're going to try and get through. So I hope you don't nod off. If it does get a bit nodding off, I'll speed up. I've had a coffee. But if I'm going too fast, because I had a coffee, and I never usually drink coffee, but I wanted my brain to work a little bit clearer, I can speak really fast. Okay, so please just give me the slow down I will do a couple of Q&As as I go through each category, so you're making sure you're following what I'm saying, okay? But I will be doing a lot of my own personal stuff. Okay, so I'll give you a little bit of introduction to who I am. I was born in Little River, Banks Peninsula, next to Christchurch. That's where I was born and raised. I was known as the animal kid. Everybody in my village and everybody in my town and even further afield knew I loved saving animals. It was my passion. And everybody would be dropping off animals. The farmers who didn't want to spend money on milk powder, they just drop off lambs, goats, whatever. I grew up with a single dad. He was probably not had cancer, so he wasn't very well. So I was very free, and I kind of made up what I ever wanted to do. I was a very free child. So I had over 40 different birds. Every time I pulled out my cupboard for my underpants, I had a possum sleeping there and a rabbit sleeping there. So I was full of pets, loads. I always knew my passion. I never did well at school. I'm dyslexic, so I can't retain a speech. I'm always going to be ad-libbing because I just not have that power of learning. And school was a really negative place for me. So when I say negative, it was a great learning place. You know, what we say is a negative experience can be the best experience of your life because it can change your way of thinking. And school was that. It was kind of a negative experience because I was bullied and I couldn't keep up with any other kids. And teachers back in my day kind of thought, really maybe didn't understand dyslexic that way and just thought we were troublemakers and lazy to learn and created me as a troublemaker. So I was kicked out of schools and I left when at 15. Dad being ill with cancer, he pushed me out the door. He knew my whole world was my father, so he knew I needed to stand on my feet really quickly. So he gave me a bit of a boot out the door and I started being a high country musterer. Biggest experience was Clarence Reserve. If you never heard of that station, it was one of the largest privately owned stations in New Zealand, 132,000 acres outside Kaikoura in the Southern Alps. I was 15, 16, I had 4 horses, 16 sheepdogs I'd gathered up by then, and I disappeared with some very scary hillbillies, rednecks, and I fitted in perfectly. Okay, a very redneck Kiwi when I grew up at that age. Even though my passion was saving and looking after animals, the technique they showed me how to train animals was quite shocking. It was through fear. And unfortunately, most of us, not us here, but most of the world have been using fear techniques for a long time. We've been desensitized to it, from whipping horses, kicking them in the ribs, yanking. How else would you train a very dangerous animal? It can bite and kick us. So I broke in horses. We used to muster wild horses and we broke them in ourselves, train our dogs. And I was programmed, as we all are, by training animals with fear. Okay, and that was my first part of experiencing when I did that, and it never felt right for me, and it never made me not happy inside. So I actually started on my days off in the Clarence, and you're out there for months, no phones back then, no electricity out there. So I was watching how my pack interacted, I watched how the wild horses communicated, and I started learning, and I don't think I was conscious at the time, but it was planting seeds in my head about how animals started communicating. 18, and my father passed away a few years later, but at 18 I left New Zealand. I was kind of had nothing to hold me back. Went to Alberta and I did rodeoing for my sins, but I was working on big ranches. Okay, so it was another redneck area, Alberta, Canada. If you've never heard of it, it's very rodeoing. So I fitted in like a glove because I kind of went from the station to there. And I started a lifestyle of 6 months and then wildlife for 6 months. So I saved some money and then I went straight into wildlife. I went up to Alaska, worked with sledding dogs, huskies. I'd put a tent on my back, disappear to the big parks and go and look for grizzlies and brown bears and caribou. And I went in bush. Because I kind of grew up on my own with my dad, even though I had lots of brothers and sisters, but they had all left, I was very comfortable with my own skin, and nature was my church. It was the most happiest place I've ever been and I think is ever in the universe. Nature's given me so much. So anyway, I started the 6 months on, 6 months off. I've been doing that for 33 years. Okay, I only work 6 months a year. You might be thinking I'm lazy, but I dedicated my time for the 6 months off to saving wildlife. So I lived in Africa for many years, tried to set up a wildlife sanctuary in Zambia, in Kafue National Park. I used to collect dung for Ethiopian wolves to give to the scientists so we know what we can try and save these wolves. Quickly, I'm diverting now, and I'll get told off. But one of my most memorable times in my life was they're 4,000 meter high, the Ethiopian ranges, and I was up there in a tiny tent. The tent was frozen. I never realized how cold it got in Africa. My hair was white and I was in a tent, and I'd been told where the den was. And I'd get up at 4:30 in the morning, take my camera, and I'd sit out there, and I was absolutely freezing. The sun would touch the den, and as the sun touched the Ethiopian, and there's only 400 in the world. Only they will become extinct. I'm not trying to do a sob story here, but I'm afraid that we just left it too late with them. Anyway, the female came out with some cubs, and I'm taking photos, and I never felt a buzz like it in my life, and it lasted forever. I still get pins and needles talking about it. To watch Ethiopian cubs play in the sun, and there was adults protecting the den, and then they all got up, they all groomed, and then they all marked the territory. So I've been blessed with my wildlife experiences. A dive master for 30 odd years, and I love the underwater world as much as on land. So anyway, that's a little bit of brief about me. The reason I've done, not in New Zealand, nobody knows me over here, which I've loved, not to pay for my own ego, but I set myself up in the UK. The UK gave me £1. It was great. I could travel easily for 6 months anywhere I wanted to with £1. And so I started going back to England a lot more. I've worked in many different countries around the world, but England became a little bit more of a hub. I started doing demonstrations back very early in I think it was 1994 when I did my demonstrations with dogs and sheepdogs and stuff, and then I started doing horse whispering demonstrations at a tourist farm. And I'll just quickly tell you one story before I move on to the stuff you're here for. This story will help you understand where my technique came from and how I've developed it onto dogs. So I was doing a few horses. This lady heard about me, and I was doing free lessons. Public was coming around me, and so it was all in the public, and they said, oh, I've got this horse I'm just going to destroy because it's gone really crazy. Well, it's locked in the stable now. Every time we go near it, it tries and bites, and it's kicking the door, and we can't even get it out of the stable. I said, yeah, bring it on. Yeah, that'd be great for the live audience. So they reversed the truck up, and back then I was a little bit arrogant because I've been doing rodeo and breaking in my own horses. I thought I was, invincible. So basically they reversed up the truck, loaded the horse on, and brought it to my round pen. Unloaded the horse, and straight away I could see it was absolutely nuts. It was just flying off the handle. So I got extra barriers for the public, I got first aid people in, I got extra staff. First time in years my wife decided to come and watch this. I think she was hoping for some insurance money maybe. Basically she was, she only lasted 5-10 minutes. I will be honest to my wife, she couldn't watch it anymore. So after it was all set up, I saw this horse and I jumped in. So this is going to be explaining my technique a bit. And I had to wait, because this horse was googly-eyed, it was looking and snorting, and it was gnashing, and I jumped in and I had to put this pressure on. Now I'm not going to go in too deep where I learned this pressure on, pressure off technique, or where people learn this technique for horses, but it comes from nature. We learn it how they work in nature. So this is not a man-made or a human technique. It's not nothing to do with bribing dogs with food or clickers or whistles. This is us understanding them instead of trying to make them understand us, which is my whole philosophy. Okay, I'm going to tell you my speech right now. If we are the most intelligent creatures on the planet, it always made me wonder why we make our animals understand our language instead of us understanding theirs. So this technique really fitted home for me with the horse. So I dived in there and I threw some rope at it, I put pressure on the horse and I made it run. And I really tried to find the pressure point. You're just behind the shoulder and you charge it. And it kind of just got spoke and it started running away. I keep the pressure on it as it went around the arena. And then I thought, oh, I'll just take the pressure off. As soon as the horse saw me taking the pressure off, it faced me, charged me. A couple of times I had to bounce out the arena, okay, because it was just trying to bite and lash out. So I had to calm myself down and wait for another opportunity and dove back in. And this time I realized, by learning very quickly, that I have to keep pressure on this horse. This is a do or die for this horse. It wasn't gonna, after me, it was a glue factory. Okay, so I just charged it and I keep pressure for 10 minutes, just chasing it around. I forgot there was even a crowd there. I have to stay focused. I'm throwing ropes. And after 10 minutes, the horse realized it couldn't get away from me, and it's got an option. Now, I don't know if I should dissect it, but in nature, when they've been pushed away from the pack, there's a survival instinct. I want to talk about this in a second. And in that survival instinct, they know they won't survive without their pack, their herd, because they're likely to get killed by wolves, bears for horses, or dogs will be killed by another pack if they're segregated from their own pack. And so this is the technique called pressure on, pressure off. This is where we get it from. And it's in their survival instincts, it's in their DNA, so they understand it really well. So once the horse had that pressure on, I started seeing it do this. It dropped its head. It was a much lighter blowing through the nose. It's called licking and chewing, where they mouth and the ears soften. And it was like, got it. I got it. The horse has been submissive. I keep the pressure on, but I started slowing up. Now it's communicating to me now. The horse is talking to me very clearly. And now I can actually respond to the horse. And it's all about timing. This is called my scenario. It's impossible to train a horse in a 10-acre paddock. But by bringing it into a small arena, I can now use my technique, pressure on, pressure off, to make it and communicate and get the perfect timing. And I'll talk about the scenarios at the end with our dogs. So once I saw the horse licking and chewing, I started taking the pressure off. I slowed it down, but I still managed to turn it. It's not charging me now because we've already been through that. It's burnt out its system. And then I start to turn my body language. I need to do about 45 degrees, but I stop the horse first. I stop him still. And then if he's facing me, I turn my body language and I take a little step away. Okay, with that, he's now seen as an opportunity. On his own, he won't survive. But with me teaming up, now I'm giving him the right signs, he's going to survive much more because he's got a partner. He's starting to create a herd, and it's a survival instinct. So I'm working and I'm using that information to make him come to me. He was a bit nervous, so he was still in there, and I'd go this way. He had to start facing me. If he turned his back, I would chase him again, push him around the arena a couple more times, then drop my shoulder. And then after a while, I'd start try to get closer to him. I wouldn't stare at him if you're not sure about it yet, but we have this energy around us. And when you're steering and you come in with this energy to an animal, you're putting pressure on it. So I keep my arms, I'm not submissive, I've still got the strength, but I'm opening the door to invite him to come and say hello to me. But he's still got a very scared horse. So I cycle back and forwards, and as I get closer to the horse, he's there. Very calmly, I put my hand out. I let him sniff it, and I do just one touch. And that touch says a lot to a horse. It means I'm not here to hurt him. And then I immediately walk away. And he followed me. I walked around for 5 minutes. He was following me like a pet puppy. And I forgot about the audience. And then very important, I start to gently, and you'll see horses do it when they stand beside each other. They itch each other's backs. That's them bonding. So I bonded with this horse. And then we're even more closer. And this is now we're a unit. We are now together. And I look up and I didn't see a dry eye in the house. And I'm thinking to myself in England, trying to make money, going, hey, I'm onto something here. There's something in this. And in that moment, I thought, I'm going to do this with dogs. So I created my own dog sanctuary for collies. Collies are number 2 in the rescue homes in the UK. Mainly they see them on the one-man dog and they're very obedient and very smart. Oh, I want a collie for a pet, and take it to London in a flat. So they're very, very common over there, collies with needing help. And I got some Indian running ducks, and I did a very similar thing. I got an untrained collie and a partly trained collie and a trolley, and I started doing demonstrations around the UK. In 2016 to 2019, I was the #1 demonstration act in the UK. I was doing my own talk show programs for animal behaviourists, they called me. It was quite crazy. People ringing about turtles and parrots. So it was quite unnerving. I was on their country file a few times. I'm not trying to do my own ego, but it kind of took off. And mainly because I had the idea of seeing is believing. So many dog trainers are out there going, sit, and then they use certain types of dogs, very easy, low energy dogs, and they can show people really well. But because I was using raw material, they saw the dogs trying to grab the ducks, and I can move the dog, make it sit left, right, without saying a word. Because I don't need to speak to dogs. They have a language, okay, and that's what this is about. I'm going to try and show you what I've learned in 30 odd years in a very short time. And I'm not here to say my technique's the be all or end all. If your technique's working with food reward or whistles or clickers, whatever else, great, stick with it. I'm just here, I'm not arrogant, I don't want to push anything onto anyone, just to give you an option about us understanding what they're saying to us and how accidentally we can give them the wrong job with our body language. So again, I'm going to move on to what a dog is. So I'm just recapping now because I've been monologuing so long. Also I've got down here how we can minimize our dog issues in our park and our responsibility. But I think I'm going to move that to the end. Okay, so what is a dog and how to understand a dog? So I'm going to go into this now. I've broke it down, and this is a dyslexic Kiwi kid who's made all this up. This is what I've learned from nature. These 3 parts of a dog. If you understand these 3 parts of a dog, you really will understand what your dog is doing and why it's doing it. First part, and I do school events in the UK too, with thousands of children, so I'm not talking to you down, but I'm going to make it as a tree. It's got roots and a trunk, okay? And that's called a survival instinct. And there's a pack instinct in that, but it's a survival instinct. It's a tree trunk and the roots. And the reason I say it's a tree trunk, because every single dog is exactly the same. Doesn't matter if it's a Chihuahua or a Great Dane, it's exactly the same survival instinct. It doesn't vary. Then you get the branches of a tree, and that's their breed instinct. And that's their passion. That's what they dream about. That's the first thing they want to do in the morning. Okay, it's their favorite job on the planet. And that's a breed instinct. And the last one is something we not, as humans, have kind of lost touch with. Energy. Okay, so I've broken it down as simple as I can. High, medium, and low. And you might be at a dog park thinking, I've got a perfectly trained dog. But sometimes it's easier to train certain types of dogs than it is others. So we have to have a really open mind. If you get an easy breed like a golden retriever and you get a low energy, it's like winning the doggy lotto. Do you want to go for a walk? Yeah, I'll go for a walk. Do you want to sit down and watch a movie? Yeah, I'll sit down and watch a movie. And it's just like, wow, this is gold. I don't know what everybody else has in trouble with. It's so easy to train a dog. But if you get a strong instinct, like a cocker, a spaniel, a collie, high intelligence, and unfortunately then go on, which those type of dogs have a much more percentage of high energy. Now my wife calls me high maintenance, but I'm just high energy. And I know who I am, I understand that's my skin, and I can do things about it to make it work. But if you've got a dog which is a high mental stimulation breed dog, which is very well driven and food doesn't work all the time, actually only works for 60-70% of dogs, food treats, and you get high energy, it's like just done a 5K walk on the beach. Come on, let's go home, I need a wine or a beer. Sit down, and your dog's like, whoa, let's do ball. I'll get the ball for you. Let's get a frisbee. Let's go and play. And oh my God, who gave me this dog? And there's no easy solution. There is no quick fix in those dogs. 90% of the people who come to me are people with high energy dogs and strong breeds in the UK. Maybe not 90, 80. Okay, but they are the people coming to me for help. Okay, because they have got tough work. I got a very low energy kid and a high energy kid, and believe me, it's full on. Okay, so I will talk a little bit more about how we can help those as well. Okay, let's move on. Body language and energy. Okay, my favorite subjects. Okay, I'm going to do scenarios. I hope you don't mind, because I'm just giving you pictures instead of words. We use our body language a certain way. Okay, and dogs are talking to us all the time. Most of you know what dogs are saying with your own dog's experience. Tail between the legs, a bit nervous. And even if it's growling, that's nervous anxiety, aggressive and nervous. If it's a dominant dog walking in front, heckles go up, his stance is strong, that's a dominant dog. So we all know that. We all can tell a dog rolling on his back. Sometimes they urinate on their belly. Dogs know each other from smell. They're not peeing because they in nature, they're really low members, naturally pee on themselves to tell the higher rankers who they are. Oh, it's number 34. Okay, in the pack. Yeah, they don't do it by recognition of face. So, but we also can give our dogs the wrong job through our body language. So I'm going to give you a scenario, and this is nothing personal. This is nothing directed at anyone. But this is a very common issue. In the UK, I only give you UK stats, because sorry, that's where my business is, and I will know those stats. But the number one issue is reactive dog on leads. That's the number one issue for people coming to me, are reactive dogs on leads, guard dogs and growling. So I'm going to give you a little scenario. Okay, it's a hot summer's day. I'm a young lady. Hello. Little bikini. Oh, it doesn't matter what she's wearing. Sorry, bloke thing. And she's holding a little chihuahua, okay, and she's walking down the road. La 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 la. She looks up the road and she sees a big fella coming straight towards her, full of tattoos, holding a drooling Rottweiler. All of a sudden, her energy drops. La la la. Oh my goodness. Her hand tightens on the lead. She starts to wrap the lead. Baby, come here, sweetheart, come to mummy, it's okay, I've got you. What's wrong with that? She's reassuring the dog. Yeah, I'd like to re-emphasize their language is energy and body language. It's way, way higher than verbal. They know what we're thinking before we say anything, because we sense it for our energy and our body language, and they're already going, oh, we're off to the park, Dad's yawning. So they know it. So anyway, I'm going to give you what the dog was thinking. Lady's walking down the road. Oh my goodness. The dog senses her energy changing. Little dog's like this. What's wrong, Mum? What is it? What do you see up there? What is it? Now the dog's on high alert. It's a pack animal, they support each other. And remember, when a lead, dogs have got limited options. They're much more prone to be aggressive or defensive on a lead. Because off the lead, they can have space. They can back, read the situation. So the little dog's now on high alert. Then her hand wraps around the lead. It's okay, come. Her body language has now gone into a fear factor. The dog senses the energy changing and sees her dog body language getting fear. The dog's got no other choice. It's bred into their pack system. They have to protect the pack if the pack leader can't do it. Little dog's like this. It's all right, Mum. It's all right. I'll rip his legs off. And it goes in front and starts protecting you. Nothing wrong with a dog. There are no bad dogs out there. They've got the wrong job. Or they've got some habits we can deal with, okay? But this is sometimes passed on by us. why our dogs are doing what we're doing. And it doesn't matter if you go now past somebody with this information, I'm going to walk like King Kong, the dog won't react. The dog has got the job. Every dog wants a purpose in a pack, desperate for a purpose, and it needs something. Okay, everything in life needs a purpose. Okay, so it looks for jobs, especially collies and cockers, they're mentally looking for stuff to do. And if we haven't set them up really good jobs, mental stimulation, they will find a job, and it might not be the one you want. And if it's a dog in front and it's taken on that responsibility, it's a lot of pressure on a dog, reading every energy coming towards us. And I've had everything under the sun. My dog doesn't like women. My dog doesn't like men. My dog doesn't like hats, umbrellas, kids. Okay, and we're carrying there. Once you make an excuse for a dog, you then accept that behavior. Okay, so by simply changing our body language and doing some training with it and firing them from the job, like setting up a scenario, using my technique, pressure on, pressure off, we can actually fire them from a job. And my training scenarios are only 10 minutes. It might take you 10 minutes to set up a scenario, but my actual training is very fine. And the reason, sorry, I'm jumping ahead. I'll talk about scenarios in a minute. Okay, triggers. Oh, by the way, with just one in the energy. Okay, it's really important that they sense our energy, like I explained, and they mimic from the pack leader down. Okay, I don't train dogs anymore. I've been doing this for 35 years, and everybody called me a dog trainer. I'm now a people trainer. It has to start from top down, not from bottom up. We are responsible for our dog's behavior. We have food, water, physical exercise, mental exercise, and their behavior. It's on us. We are the pack leader. Okay, so this is kind of our job to make sure we know how to communicate. And when you're doing scenarios and you're using your energy right, they get it. They get it very fast. That's why my dog training sessions, are only 10 minutes. Because you get the timing right. You're in a position, you're not in the park going, oh God, here we go again. Oh God, I'm sorry about this, my dog. You're corrupted your energy straight away. You're already corrupted in your dogs now. You're putting fuel on the fire. So you can't train your place dogs for basic stuff, for the foundations of training. You can't do it in places like this. You need to have that set before you come to places like this. So your dog has recall, your dog will listen to you. You can call you back, tell your dog to sit, and you can position yourself in the right position if something's happening from another dog even. Using your energy is really important. I have two pressures, a physical and a verbal pressure as my technique. And all my dogs, I've got 6 dogs at the moment, but I have dogs coming and going at my place in Hampton. And the first 2 days I teach them this technique. So then I've got a remote control. So if they are kicking off, I put this verbal pressure on, and then I call their name. I call their name first, but if it's gone into tunnel vision, I use that verbal pressure. It puts them back into a submissive state. Dogs can think then, they're not going into the bullet state, and then I can call them back. But if you haven't got that on them and you just keep using their name, you can desensitize. Bob, 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 Bob! You know, and then you lose the power of Bob. You know, I do the pressure, verbal pressure twice, and then I have to zip it, and then I'm legging it. Get in front of my dog, and that's the consequences, physical pressure, put it back into a submissive state. I don't keep going, No, I do it twice, Sully, Sully, and then I've lost my dog. Okay, it's already gone. So then I have to physically get in front of it, because coming from behind your dog, you've got no power. And in front of your dog, if you take anything out of this today, take this bit of advice. Try it. Communicate to your dog in front, because if it's triggered, it doesn't hear you anymore. So you're walking along, it's triggered on a rabbit or somebody else's dog, it goes like this, locked on. I call that the bullet stage. You've now lost your dog. You're not training, you're salvaging a situation. There's no training in this part. The training is the dog going, rabbit, relax, submissive, reset. There we go. Oh, rabbit's still there. Great. I can do repetition. And that's why scenarios are so important, because you're triggering the behavior you've set up, the trigger, and you're triggering it as many times as you can in 10 minutes. And then once the trigger goes, the bullet can't be fired. Okay. One last thing about energy, and the lovely ladies who run the pound here will have this experience when they have to go and remove a dog from somebody's home. I had to do it a few times in England. Dogs attacked their grandchildren or something, and the grandmother couldn't handle it anymore, so I go in there, and the dog's in the corner growling at me. It sees me as a predator, or it sees me as another pack member coming into its own territory, so it's not going to be friendly to me. Doesn't matter who I am. Doesn't matter how many years I've been doing dog training. The dog is in its own home and wants to defend itself. So you can go in there with a long stick and a loop, and you loop it and you drag it out. That's plan A. Safety, always goes first. I would try something else, but I've got experience, but I'm going to show you what I'd do. Dog's in the corner growling at me. Remember, when I go into the dog with my eyes looking at it, my energy, I'm putting pressure on that dog. So I'm making the situation worse if I just go, come on, little guy, come on, come on, come on, little guy. Well, surely it understands that. Watch me again if I don't say anything with it. I'm coming straight in, my arms are apart, I'm staring at it. It's putting fuel in a very anxious dog, and I can guarantee I'll get bitten. So how would I do it without putting a loop and dragging it out the house? And obviously we have to do that if it's our own safety. So I'd go up and I'd read the situation and I'd try and put pressure on it. And a little bit like the horse whispering, I'd give it a chance to come to me. Of course it's not going to do it straight away. Well, I don't even know you. I'm in the corner here, I'm just going to growl. So this might take a few minutes. Hey, I'm not here to hurt you. I'm disagreeing with your behaviour. Trying to get your attention, trying to put you in a submissive state. And then I give you a window. Okay? Now, unlike the horse, I wouldn't go and touch his nose because I'll get bitten. But I'll try this, and sometimes it can work really quick because a dog wants a chance to get out of that situation. And I can put a little bit more pressure on and it realizes it's not going to get away. And then it goes, it's got no other chops and comes to me. We do the join up, well done. I can put a lead on it and walk it out the house and put it in my truck and take it away. Okay, that's the way I'd like to lead. That would be my plan A, but obviously, if the dog, there's a distance you have to go before you get hurt. So you have to, don't go and do that at home and say, my dog bit my arm off or this neighbor. But that's something, there is an option, okay? Okay, anyway. So triggers, identifying your dog body language and energy when you're going into a park like this. So, like I used tennis balls before, okay? So somebody's throwing a tennis ball, your dog is triggered, it shoots away after the tennis ball. Obviously the other dog thinks it hits the tennis ball and you could kick off. So obviously if you don't want that to happen, you see something over there happening, obviously a good choice is to go somewhere else. But if the dog's off the lead, it's got all the power running around. But if you can, demonstrate, like get in front, get the connection back. If your dog's ignoring you when you're putting pressure on, you're not being sharp enough. It's too mesmerized. If it's looking scared, you're putting too much pressure on. So you have to know your own dog. I can't just say, this is exactly what you do. Every dog's got different energies, so as you know that. So you have to apply the pressure. If your dog's still ignoring you, I sometimes, little hands on their shoulder and just give them a little, All I want is the connection. I'm just after the connection. I'm trying to stop him looking around my legs at the ball. There we go. Good. Well done. And I reposition. And we mark it as a good, I don't go over, well done, you did it! Because then you're just shooting him back straight up with all your energy pumped into him. Okay, I never pat a dog, by the way, when it's in an unbalanced mind. What's an unbalanced mind? Overexcitement, jumping up and down, or growling. I see a lot of people going, it's okay, calm down, or it's even fear. Bang, the dog's shaking in the corner. It's okay, calm down. And I know that might sound a bit tough, a bit harsh. Why don't you reassure a dog? Well, what we feed, we create. So if your dog's in an unbalanced mind and you're pumping energy into it, it's okay, calm down. Just the dog might calm down, but watch what happens when you remove the energy and it wants more of that energy. It goes back into that state to get you to do this again. Okay, so what we feed, we create is a really good thing to say. So when I do it, if it could be anxiety, I do very light pressure. Come on, come on, out of it, come on. Get his favourite ball, bounce it on the ground, try and get him off the thought of the bang, which just happened, and try and bring him out. But I don't go and reassure him, and I try and let him learn to recover himself. They've got to learn how to do it themselves. And if we just take their mind off it by sitting them in a corner under a bed saying, oh my God, everything's scary now, they spiral into a hole like we can do. So by just bouncing a ball or pump my energy, your dog's seeing you, oh, I'm going to go and join you. It can help them pull them out of that and teach them. If it's aggressive dog, you're trying to calm them down, I would in front, disagree with the behavior. Once it's submissive, that's what I want to grow. I want to grow a submissive dog. So then I pile the energy in. Good boy, that's better. And the more you feed that mindset, the more he'll stay in that mindset because he wants that energy. I don't need to do food treats. I use my energy as that reward, and that's what they love, okay? There's no greater love than a dog, otherwise none of us would be here. I mean, my wife doesn't even look at me like my dogs do now, okay? I've had the blessing of lives with wildlife. I've seen so much and I've done so much with wildlife, and not to float my own ego, but I've never come across anything like a dog's love. If I could be half the person that dog thinks I am, I'd be doing really well. And it is really important that, yes, we have really tough times. Yes, our dogs are frustrating us because we're not understanding why they're doing it. But when you can learn their language and communicate in the right way and they get it, there's no greater love on the planet I've ever experienced, that dedication to us. All right, so what is a job? I mean, when I say dog's got a wrong job, like I said with that earlier, there's a guard dog role, there's the barking at the door, and setting up the scenarios. Let's pick one more for let's do reactive to the door. Somebody's coming to visit you, your dog's barking at the door, running to the door, growling, barking, okay? Quite a common one. So what I do is I set up a scenario as I ask a friend, I'll give you a bottle of wine for 10 minutes of your time, or 15 minutes of your time. Just come up and down the footpath and rattle the door, and I'll let you know what to do when I'm through the door. I'll just yell at you, okay, just pause. And then I would position myself at the door. Dog's just ignoring you in the lounge or something. They hear the stones going, crunch, crunch, crunch. The door rattle might be triggering it. The dog's flying around. Oh, there's somebody here. And I would position myself there. And as the dog's flying around, we're not getting the trigger at this stage. We're getting the bullet stage. But we'll get better at it. And we'll get a better system set up very shortly. But at first, I take over the door. I'm the pack leader. I own the door. Actually, dogs shouldn't own anything. And I know that's controversial as well. They shouldn't even own their own crate. Let me finish this one and I'll go on to that. But you stand in front of your door and and you calm him down. And you say, just pause there for a second. When it's relax them. And then you take the pressure off when he's calm. And then you turn your back. And now that's just open the door to him. Even though you're still there, by turning your back on him, he'll go back into the habit. Okay, rattle the door handle again. Rattle, rattle. Now you're getting the trigger. Now you're set up in a perfect scenario. And you're not worried about anybody. You're not going, oh God, here we go again. You're thinking, bring it on. And because you think differently, your energy is different, and your dog sees you as a strong pack leader. Really is important when we're trying to train our dog, we set up scenarios as just as important as the technique. Because training out here, you're multitasking, you're talking, you'll never get the timing right, you'll miss the triggers, and it's a bit of a it's a very painful way to train your dog. Okay, so by setting up scenarios, we can set up the trigger, catch it, 10 minutes, no more, but you can do it as time. And after a couple lessons, you're weaning off the physical. You don't even have to be there anymore. After 2 or 3 lessons, you're just going, And then next time you're in the kitchen, the door handles and dog starts getting excited just before he even leaves the kitchen. Dog, okay, you've got it. I've got the door, thank you, honey. You've done a great job, but you're fired. I got this job now. Okay, so we're not trying to deprive our dogs of things. We're just trying to give them the right jobs. And if there's a job pulling us down the road or attacking our door handle, then we need to say that's not the job for you. Okay, and find mental stimulation for your dog. Cockers, I'd love putting rags and under flower pot. 60% of those types of dogs, hounds, cockers, spaniels, use 60% of their thought pattern is scent. So all the information we take them with our eyes, they take with their nose. So we need to give them mental stimulation with games. And morning's the best. I know you all got busy lives and you get home from work and, it's my time to walk the dog. But all day that dog's been wound up. Okay, so it's really good to give mental stimulation in the morning if you can. How do we minimize... by the way, I've said there was Q&As and I've just waffled on. I think it was the coffee I just had before I got here. Is there any questions up to now? Are you all getting how I'm explaining energy, body language? And I know I'm not live demonstrating. I was thinking about doing it, but I said if the council thinks this is a great idea and we can do more and we can bring live dogs in and I can demonstrate on that, if you YouTubing or anything like that, I think we got a course, me and Zara. Are we doing a special at the moment? Yeah, so this is Zara, everybody. I'm terrible at introducing people. Zara is the one who's been pushing me to set myself back up in New Zealand. After the UK, after COVID, I've never been in a place longer than 6 months for 35 years. With COVID, it changed all our lives, and I moved to Hampton. And it's been a wonderful new experience to me, watching my kids go to school for the first time, not being homeschooled, and all this kind of carry on. And it's been wonderful and really enjoyed it. And I kind of took a few years off because I had some health issues I needed to get sorted. But Zara's really been the one, and I'm very grateful for her. And this is her volunteering, by the way. She's not doing anything else than volunteering. So she's just really keen to get my technique out as many people as possible and help us all learn something I've learned from them. So if there's no questions, so I think these places are really important for our socialization of our dogs. into reaction. Like I said earlier, reading the right situation to stop issues happening. Young dog harassing an old dog, even though he's not doing nothing wrong. This is a park, it should be allowed to go and see any dog. Well, if somebody's coming here for the first time, they might need some space. So if you can read situations and remove your dog just to give the person a bit of space, if it's an older dog, just to get that dogs just need space, some dogs, okay? And that's really important to try and notice that happening. How do we structure our dog before we come to these places? Well, I think that's quite important, okay? Imagine... Oh yeah, we have actually. Thanks, Sarah. She keeps me on track. Have I told him about... Yeah, actually one of my favourites, so you've got these are very kind of cartoonish. And we know most of them. I'm pretty sure we all know an aggressive dog when it's looking at you, how their stances are. There's one that you might not notice. I love it. I wish we could do it as humans. If you notice your dogs when they have a little alteration with each other, and if you watch carefully afterwards, maybe it's, you're walking past a dog and it kind of growls, they actually transmitting negative energy to each other at that stage. So they've got negative energy in them now. Okay, and you just watch, it's sometimes only seconds, as they depart, watch what your dog does. I'll see if I can do it. It does this. Shakes. Actually, a lot of animals do it in nature. And you know what it does? It lets go of that negative energy. And it's back to a balanced dog. Imagine if we could do that. Imagine if you're walking down the road and someone goes, "Oh, dickhead." And you're walking along and, do I know that person? He could be a dickhead. Am I a dickhead? You go home and you tell your partner, "You can't believe it. An hour ago I was walking down the road." And we're carrying this negative energy that somebody gave us. And we carried it all the way to home, and now we're sharing it with our own family. We're masters at it. We're great at carrying negative energy. Where a dog can go, brrr, ducks do it. I mean, if you want to see something really obvious, if you see these two ducks fighting, then they stand up and flick and then off again, and they're as happy as Larry. Nature works incredibly well, okay? But and so we can really learn a lot. It'd be great if we just, somebody, dickhead, oh, okay, thanks. Didn't affect you at all. You're not carrying that negativity and not chewing it over in your head. Unfortunately, humans, we're not very conscious. And I don't know how we become unconscious against nature or away from nature. Animals are very conscious. They kind of live in the moment. Where we are living, oh, we've got to do tomorrow. Oh, what's our jobs today? Oh, what did we do yesterday? Oh, we're always thinking. And that's a lot of noise. That's why I love horse whispering and dog training, because I have to be conscious when I'm using live, untrained animals on these little duckies or sheep. And it gives me, and that's a lovely period of my life where I'm very quiet in my head. So I'm going to talk about structuring. Is that all good so far? Yep, good. I'm going to talk about structuring, how to structure your dog's behavior before you get here. Okay, just very quickly, because it's kind of like sometimes you can bring a loaded gun to the... Actually, I'll put it this way. I was thinking about it today. Imagine your dogs as dry gorse bushes. Okay, they're all rolling around in the wind. And then somebody comes in there and they've got a dog. "Oh, okay, we're going to the park. I've got to see one of my mates." And it's like getting your gorse bush to the gate, whacking a match on it, and it comes on fire, and then you roll it into all the other gorse bushes. That energy, it lights all the other dogs' energy. And if that energy is spiraling with excitement and bouncing around, which it should have a kind of, they're allowed to do that. I'm not trying to say you have to have the perfect dog, but if we can get into the park in a calm way, then it can help also your dog community. So this is what I do, and dogs are very clever. Oh, I've got to go to the dog park, and the dog's already going, oh, I bet he's going to get the keys next, and a lead, and the dog's getting excited, and you go to your keys, and you're grabbing your leg, and the dog's, okay, door, go to the door. Okay, and you get to the door, and your dog's already going off his nuts, really. Okay, so how do we get out the house with a calm dog? Well, don't go to the dog park, but pretend you are. Let's call this a 10-minute training. Oh, dog park, go to the keys, dog's winding up. Hey. Get in between the keys, always. Whatever's triggering your dog, you need to be in front of your dog, never from behind. You're wasting your life behind your dog talking to it. You need to take it off the tunnel vision. Relax. All right, I'll go and sit back down. We'll try that again. Sit back down. Dog's nice and calm, get up, go into the key. Hey. Get in front of your dog, sit it down if you have to. Don't rush through it. While it's calm, pick the keys up, rattle them. That's better, good boy. Hook the keys back up. Go and sit down. And do this for a few minutes. And then get to the door. Get the lead. Do the same situation. Might not make it out the door for 10 minutes, but that's fine. We'll go back down and sit down. We'll start again. Dog has to learn how to behave. Okay, like children do. We have to teach them. This is our pack. We start from the top down, not the bottom up. So we make the rules. So by doing this very clearly and not rushing and not multitasking, your dog knows when you're 110% training. If you can do a training scenario with no kids or phones, and I know it's hard, but you only need to do it for 10 minutes if you get the timing right. You don't need to go pay $150 to a dog trainer to come around to your house. I mean, I can train any dog, but I give it back to you, it's going to go back to doing the same things it does for you. Okay, that's why I don't train dogs anymore. I mean, I do, but I train people, okay? So you get to the car, it's working itself up, we sit in the car for a few minutes. When the dog's calm, or if it can't go calm, you take it back out of the car, you walk back into your house. I know it's painful, but it sets you up for another 10 years of your dog's life probably, or even longer, with good behaviour. So it's worth pushing through these training sessions. Once you get to the park, we open the door. If he's going to work up, we shut the door. Hey. We set it in the front. We're in between the gate or the area of the dog park, and we've got control. We reset. We start walking. If it gets too excited, we step back in front. And now we're entering a dog park with a calmer dog. And then you unleash it. And then all hell breaks loose. There's no real quick fix with an unleashed dog park. I can't give you any solutions that it's always going to work well. But we can set it up well enough to take some pressure off your dog as well. Because if it starts that way, it can carry on hopefully that way. Okay, so if you have a situation over here and your dogs are kicking off, like I said, using my technique, which you can Google and stuff like that, put the pressure on. If it doesn't work, I get in there, try and get between the dogs, re-click it, or just bring it back with me. Come on, get it refocused and connect it back. And de-escalating situations is the key here. Okay, there are going to be people coming here for the first time. There are going to be people with really high energy dogs, which are difficult. Okay, and you have to realize that some people have got it tougher than others with dogs, and they're supporting our dog community so these places stay open longer or stay open, hopefully forever. We have to kind of work as a team. So that's a little technique about setting your dog up before you come here, keeping them calm and relax. I'm going on to the last one of the last ones now. How do you deal with a situation that goes all horribly wrong when you've done everything right, you let your dog off, you got no power on me now, see you later, and your dogs are running around triggered, and having fun with other dogs, and that's what it's all about. Well, if it's fine and the dogs are playing well together, there's some young dogs over here, my dog might fit in better over here, so I'll go over here. You can set it up by little things like that. But even if you will sometimes get two different dogs, it doesn't happen much. On neutral territory, they're much more likely around you to become protective than they are further away from you. Okay, because if they've taken on the guard dog role, which is a job for some dogs, they're much more likely to protect the pack beside you than they are out there. Okay, that's why you have less issues when dogs off the lead than ones on the lead when you come across owners and dogs. But when they're on here and two dogs have a disagreement, let's say a dog fight erupts, what should you do? Well, we've got to be very careful here, because if I tell you what to do and it goes horribly wrong, then I'm a bit liable. So I'll do a quickly story. I was 15, 16 at Clarence Reserve. I had 15, 16 dogs. When all the shepherds come together, we had over 100 dogs running around, all different packs. It was very, very dodgy ground. Okay, there was many dog fights. But this one day I took it off and I took my dogs down to the river, and I was having a bit of time off, watching them communicate. And anyway, these two dogs started kicking off. Now, dogs are males, kind of when they're picking all the males, and females are females. It doesn't really cross over that much. So it's much more likely male dogs will kick off, or two female dogs will kick off. Okay, so I heard this dog yelping, getting attacked. I thought, oh, cricky. I didn't think, I just reacted. But I forgot about it. I had another 9 or 10 dogs running around loose. And I ran in and grabbed them and pulled them apart. Yeah, you got what happened. I've just told all my dogs to follow the pack leader. Not my way of thinking, not what I was thinking, but with my energy and body language, just told them. I had 15 dogs in a ball, and they had no idea what they were doing. I had 5 or 6 on me. I've still got the scars on me. I was punching my way out of it, just going, oh my God, how bad. These are my dogs, they love me. But then we look on TV and we see riots happening, and humans are smashing windows and breaking cars and setting things on fire. Normal day humans are gone ballistic. So when they're in that pack mentality, there are not many rules left, okay? Maybe I could have got a stock whip and cracked it and stayed back. I actually had an incident on the beach in Hampton where this elderly couple with a ridgeback, and I must admit, when you choose a dog, make sure you get an energy who can't suppress you. It's mathematics, it's nothing personal, but if you're an elderly couple, in their later life, your energy gets less. We're not strong and dominant as much. This ridgeback just got very strong, and they'd walk at certain times, and this ridgeback attacked one of my dogs. And did I run in? No. I had 6 other dogs with me. I quickly took off, started hooking into the fence, and then I could go down and sort it out. But if I went in with all those loose dogs, they would have gone in as well. So if you've got more dogs with you, I would be saying don't go. You're more likely to kill a dog with more dogs joining in. But if it's just one-on-one, and if you can do it before, you've got to be very careful, read the situation. But I'd try and de-escalate it by calming my dog down and If you've got a dog and another dog's running towards you, I step in front of my dogs. When I'm greeting strange dogs, some people say to me, how do you greet dogs? How do you greet them? Well, I don't let him take all the responsibility, my dog. I actually sit it down, I step in front, I'm the pack leader, I introduce the person first, then meet the dog, and then I introduce the dog to them, and I've done it all in control. You give your dog meat to meat, and it might be they know them, and that's fine, but if they're not knowing them and they've got issues, you need to be in between and see what their body language is when they come and meet. Okay, that's you controlling the situation, not letting your dog make all the rules. You are the pack leader. You decide if this is a good situation or not. And by just being in front of your dogs, and you're allowed to calm your dog down and then back your dog up. So when there's a stray dog running towards you and it's looking like, oh God, I know this dog, he's a bit too much for my dog, step in front, calm your dog down, and you take responsibility. Put an invisible wall around your dog. Push your that dog won't challenge you. You're in a neutral territory and you're a human. Okay, so you can block that dog. And then go, hey mate, just teach him a dog here. Can you just call your dog back for a minute? Just want to introduce it. Don't change your energy and go, oh God, here we go again, that so-and-so. Okay, because then you corrupt your energy and you make it worse. You have to stay positive and you have to stay strong energy. And that feeds onto your dog. Anything I'm missing? Okay. So dog fights is a tricky one. I'm not going to tell what you do. You have to read that yourself. There is certain ways. I mean, I've got years of experience and I've done it many times. But there is a certain position I get in to separate a dog. I have myself first, and then I can do what I do. But I wouldn't want to put anyone in that situation. So, but remember, if there's more dogs around, try and secure the area. You have to try and be louder than their energy. So you could clap your hands. Try and really bring them back into a submissive state. In the mountains, what I should have done with my dogs, tied my dogs up, got my stock whip, and that would have stopped them straight away. Okay, that shock would have brought them out of their thought pattern and put them back into a submissive state. And then I would have got control. Okay, so it's very, very dodgy when you've got a lot of dogs running around and they're kicking each other off. Okay, so that's going to be a little bit more reading the situation. Any questions?
Yeah.
Perfect. Good. Strong dog, right. Are you interested in this? Yep. Okay, good. Okay, cool. I've not bored you too much yet. Okay, so my technique, and I actually do it, I did some lovely people in Hampton come and had 3 dogs they had the same issue with, so we did that and it worked really fast and quick. So again, I use a few different techniques. So I have a lovely long driveway, so I use what's around me. I would never try, in this area is not the right situation, I would be teaching my dog to walk on to lead, because you have to start in the shallow end, not the deep end. Okay, so you've got to judge your dog. So maybe here would be good. So, sorry Sarah, I know you're filming this. Sorry, God, I'm terrible with this TV stuff. So I'd use this as a natural boundary. So what I'm trying to do is not overdo it. 10-15 minutes. I'm not worried if the dog goes behind me, if it smells things. I'm not trying to over-command it. I just want to hit one thing. He's not allowed to walk in front of my toes. Okay? And if I'm walking and he walks in front of my toes, I do a correction. Do not have an agenda. So I've got to walk around the park and got to be home for dinner in 5 minutes. That's not training. Okay? You need to go, right, I've got half an hour spare. I'm just going to walk down for 10-15 minutes, train my dog, and I'm not going to care about anyone else. If these are, I don't live in the city or towns, but if this is your scenario, this is what you can do. I use that, walk along. As soon as it goes in front of me, I can do a touch, I can do a sit, and I use both types of pressure. I use verbal and physical to start with. It's very important you use both types of pressure to start with. We wean off the physical very quickly, but we need to know what the consequences are to start with, okay? And when we use the physical as a consequence, so relax, reset. And I don't do that as my main one. As I walk, a little touch. Sometimes a little side pull, not back pull, because I'm teaching your dog. I'm not trying to yank it or anything. I'm just trying to get its train of thought back in. I'm trying to mark the line. And I don't do this. Okay, I'm the pack leader. So I mentally village myself first. You've got to set yourself up first, not the dog. Dog's just sitting there quietly. You're just trying to teach it not to walk in front. So now I'm going to walk. I'm not going to do a little, because it's very hard to tell your dog to walk beside you if it wants to get going. So give it a job. Make it into a follower. I look ahead. I don't look into the lead. I don't put my energy down to the lead. As soon as you put your body language to the dog, you now want them. If I go like this and I'm facing the dog, I'm now asking the dog to take the lead, take the point. Okay, so if I look square and I do a nice strong walk, take your time, relax, reset, little touch, little side pull. And why do I change it around? So I don't desensitize so I don't always just go like that. I mean, unfortunately on my YouTube videos and stuff, if you do watch them, I just do that technique. So I'm trying to get people to understand, but I do in reality, I do swap it around myself. Little touch, mark, push back, don't move until it goes. Dogs don't like going backwards. When they go backwards, they feel like they're losing what they want to do. So sometimes it's a little push, but don't have to do it every time. Reset, and I'm using the fence at home. And that's how I start to do the basics. And after a couple lessons, I think I did 3 dogs the other day, and honestly, I was one down the fence line, and then I was just doing and it already started moving back into position. They get it really quick. Dogs are really smart when you get the right timing and the right message to them. Amazing. You'll be going, oh my God, I'm a dog trainer. I've missed my calling. Okay, so it can be really simple. Great question.
So what about sniffing though? I mean, you've got to let them sniff.
Yeah, especially if you've got hounds, spaniels. I mean, I know people who train them out of it, who like to head up high. And so when you train an animal against its breed instinct, you have got a harder job. Like I said, there's no Harry Potter. So if you've got a hound, which is like they're 60% of their brain, it's like saying, you walk around with your eyes so you can just see them here. So sniffing is really, it's really good for giving them a job if they're sniffing dogs. Sometimes I've made rabbit trailers for I've got golden retrievers, I've got all sorts of dogs, but I've got golden retrievers. Sometimes I'll do a rabbit trail and I'll hide it and dig it. And that mental stimulation, they're burning more mental stimulation, burning more energy for their brain activity than they do just running around the paddock. Okay, the brain is the most used of energy, a powerful muscle there is on a dog, and it uses more energy than anything else. So if we can give them mental stimulation, most people don't realize about how important mental stimulation is. We know water, food, exercise, and we're responsible to train them. We actually forget about the mental stimulation, and that's their breed instinct. That's really important to understand what breed. And if you've got a crossbreed, it's still easy to figure it out when you look into the types of breed you've got. That's their passion, remember. And so if we can get that, if you've got a sniffing dog and it's annoying you and you want it to lift your head, it's painful, but you sit it up in the right position, move forward, and we say same technique. It's a pressure on, pressure off technique.
You don't allow them to sniff for a certain amount of time. That's what
It's totally, there's no rules. If it's annoying the heck out of you because you're like,
I give it so long.
huh?
I give it a certain time.
Yeah, that's great. Again, this is your pack. I'm not here to say what rules you've got. I'm here to say if you don't like them doing it and it's annoying the heck out of you, there's a way to change it. But it's 100% your choice if you're okay with that behaviour.
If I so in the dog park,
Yep.
and we'll go to leave, and I'll put the lead on him, and he'll jump up and bite the lead and him around. I think he's telling me he doesn't want to leave,
Yep.
but I need to stop him doing it because
Yeah, it's annoying, and so you're leaving the dog park, just making sure everybody can hear it, leaving the dog park, put the lead on, the dog gets a little bit wound up and jumps up and down. Can you tell, do you think it's not excitement, or is it just more kind of like aggressive? What kind of energy do you think he's using at that stage?
I just get the impression that he doesn't want to leave and he's being a bit aggressive. Don't let me, I don't want to leave.
Yeah, okay. He's trying to get your kid out of a chocolate shop. Yeah. No, I know that one. Okay, so it's a little bit about how we come to a dog park. We have our situation where we keep our dog in a submissive state. Remember, we've all got submissive dogs, which is not negative. We have to be, and I know this is a word I'm not allowed to use in England, but I'm sure we have, you guys are okay with it still, we have to dominate our dogs. We have to dominate them in a way they understand. And I used to, when I was very young in that station, I was shown to dominate with the dogs with fear. But with understanding, you get much more out of your dog. So what we've got to do is train them to be submissive. So we know, with you, it's quite easy in the way that you know what triggers him. As soon as you get your lead off, he's going to go, no, don't get the lead on. And as soon as it clips, he's straight into it. He's now become a habit or a little job routine, okay? Getting attention or trying to convince you to stay. Okay, so what we've got to do is we get him, he'll come back to you okay, though?
Oh, he's great. And before we go into the dog park, I make him sit before I open the gate, then I make him sit after.
Perfect.
Then I take the lead off, and then I go, okay, you can run.
Perfect, you nailed that end, that side of it.
Well, yeah.
So it's the leaving. So a very similar system, okay? If he's jumping up, we physically, if we have to physically do it, because he's a big, strong dog. Some dogs are more sensitive, so obviously with the energy you use, they get very nervous. So we have to make sure we don't scare them. But if he's dominating you by jumping, and he's trying to say no, I'm not ready yet. Okay, then we have to put our hands on his shoulder, and we have to put him back, and we have to pin him down, not on the ground, but into a sitting position. And hey, calm down. We are now showing him that this is not acceptable. It's okay. I'm going to be here for you. Once he relaxes, good boy. But if he goes into that negative behavior, we don't accept that unbalanced mind, and we actually put him back. And we have to be a pack leader to every position. So I've touched on it earlier, and I might just quickly go back to it when I said we shouldn't let dogs own anything. Do you think that's fair? They shouldn't own their bowl, they shouldn't own their own bed, they shouldn't own the couch, they shouldn't own your partner. I've heard horrific stories about people divorcing over dogs, and the husband was put in the spare bedroom because the dog protected his mother so much he ended up couldn't even go to his own bed. Okay, so and the reason I say they can't even own their own kennel is their own crate is because if you have a visitor, it's a bunch of kids coming in to visit you, and they've got kids or grandchildren, and the dog sees them as a different pack. Oh, it's a doggy in a crate, runs over. If that dog believes he owns that crate, then he's got the right in nature to protect that crate from puppies coming to bother him. And that's a quick snap. I'll tell you a real sad story. A phone call from a lady, and she said to me, oh, Stuart, I'm ringing up. This was in England where I had collies looking for homes and stuff. And she says, oh, I'm thinking about getting another collie. I said, okay, I've had collies before. I said, oh, good. Unfortunately, the last one I had was destroyed. I said, okay, what happened? It killed my chicken. I said, oh, God, I'm sorry to hear that. What happened? She says, well, every time I went to pick up my chicken, when I went to pick up my chicken, my dog dived in and grabbed the chicken and killed it. And I already kind of knew in my head what I was thinking, but I wasn't going to say it to her because she was already devastated. But that dog was destroyed for doing exactly what he was told. So we have to make sure we give the right body language because the dog's not a mind reader. It didn't know she wanted to give a chicken a good night kiss and a cuddle. Okay. As the pack leader went in for the food, it's a prey animal. Animals are prey animals when they've got eyes on the side of the head. They need to see 360 to see a predator sneaking up behind them. Humans and we're predators. We've got eyes at the front. We need when we pounce or attack, we need a distance and depth. Okay, that's how nature kind of designed it. So when you go, a pack leader goes into a prey animal. The dog sees the pack leader. It backs up the pack leader, grabs the chicken. Oh, lunch is served. Thank you very much for chicken tonight. Yeah, and that dog was put to sleep. Okay, so again, it's really important. So with that behavior, we just got to give them the right behavior, not acceptable. Thank you very much. As soon as he shows us the right signs, we grow that mindset. Okay, that helps? Yep.
So what do you do with like maybe older border collies or high energy dogs or maybe younger high energy dogs that have health issues so they cannot like run that much or do as much exercise? Like what can you do to stimulate their mind a bit more?
Brilliant.
Apart from enrichment toys and other stuff.
Yeah. So firstly, just to stop health issues when you can't burn off energy on a very active dog because they've got a high metabolism so they can feed. So nutrients is a real key, and I'm sure you're already doing that. You have to really be careful with their diet, and I'm sure you're already doing that. So how do you stimulate the dog? Well, collies are really my specialty because that's how I grew up. And no one's ever trained, who believes we've trained collies to run around sheep and dog? I'm kind of a loaded question really, but who believes we've trained our sheepdogs to run around sheep and cows to bring them back to us? Do you never? No, they do it as a breed. And it's quite interesting because I use this in my show. If you wonder where that came from, the wolves and the wild dogs, one of my favorite canines in the world, of the wild dogs of Africa. When they ambush the impala, they run around and they run the impala. The alpha female, the boss, in nature females, by the way, sorry blokes, but there's females rule in nature. The alpha female decides when to go hunting. She's taking the highest ranking dogs with her. She hides behind bushes and rocks. She sends the lowest members of the pack miles around. And this is just one of their techniques of hunting, not the only technique. The younger dogs just run at the impala. Now the impala think it's a joke. 60 k's an hour, losers, bye-bye. But they're running, and the dogs aren't trying to catch them though. They're trying to steer them. And they're trying to steer them back to the alpha female. She's looking for the old one, young one, injured one. And then she goes in for the kill, and all the dogs follow her lead. And they all follow her lead. They all follow the higher rankers' lead, okay? And they kill 8 out of 10 times. Not even the great white shark or any other prey animal can kill like that. They are the #1 killers in the world, the wild dogs of Africa, because of their hunting technique is so advanced. Okay, they're one of my incredible creatures. So really important to stimulate. Sorry, I've really sidetracked. I'm terrible at ad-libbing. So we can do it simple. Obviously, if it's got some issues and it's got hip, whatever it could be, or arthritis, they love to control. I mean, if you've got collie dogs, you'll know if you've got kids, they're always trying to round them up and bring them back to you. They like a nice, tight family, and they're very well known as a protective. They love the protective job. So it's a job we've got to be careful with the collies, to protecting the family, taking on that role. But you can, rolling a ball to them, greeting that's still stimulation, because it's grabbing the ball, bringing it back to the alpha female. And they're hunting and bringing back. That's that breed instinct. So you can do simple things, just in the garden, throwing balls around. Hiding scents and stuff, that's more for the scent dogs and stuff like that. But collie dogs have got a great sense as well, and smell, and they can find things as well. So you can get their favourite tennis ball, make a trail, and then hide it in the bush and see if they can track it. That's using loads of mental stimulation. Okay, and when you start doing that game, by the way, and best time is in the morning, but get your partner to show them the favourite toy, dab it on the ground behind the house, and do a trail and hide it under the flower pot. Keep it really simple. Let your dog go, encourage it, finds it, well done, you got the toy, yay! And then after a couple of times you can make it harder and you can bury it and really make it elaborate games. And then the mental stimulation burns off, and they only need 10-15 minutes of really thinking hard. And the amount of energy you burn off through that really sets them up for the rest of the day. Okay, I hope that's helped. All right, I don't know how long I've been. I said I was only going to be an hour. Is that how have I waffled on really long, or is that so good? I mean, you're most welcome. I'm going to stay around for the next half an hour. Okay, so if you're not liking public speaking, please just come up and ask me any personal questions. Sorry. I'm not really good at this public speaking, am I? You can ask me any questions about your dogs. And that would be great. I want to thank the council for putting this on, the lovely ladies who do a wonderful job at the pound, Zara, who's volunteering her time to come and help me and push me to do this in New Zealand, which would be very exciting for me to launch myself. So who knows, maybe me and the council will do some more work together later on. I'd love the idea, and I'll just finish on this. My dream for New Zealand would be, and I'd love to hear your thoughts on this, is instead of trying to fight too much on this end, at the end where the wrong dog owners have the wrong dogs and blah, 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 we're penalising them. In the UK, we're not as bad as the UK, but the last month I was there in August, there was an 8-year-old killed by a dog. They average sometimes up to 8 or 9 children die in a year. 2,000 children I think it was last year, when under 5 years old, were put in hospital. So dog attacks are real big issues in the UK. And we're not far down, we're on that road, but we're not that far, of course. But we are heading that way if we don't start to understand our dogs better. And my dream would be, and it's happening in other countries, and I'm trying to convince the council, but anyway, we actually set something up like a license to own a dog. And it sounds scary, but it can just be half-a-day course. In the Netherlands, you've got to go and watch a couple of videos, do a course, just like you would with an AA. If you get a overspeeding, you get an AA choice for a course. And I'd love to set that up for the next generations who want to buy dogs. And obviously, you have to have a license for breeding dogs and stuff like that would be really good, and I actually helped put that in place, stop puppy farming in the UK, and we actually got the government now behind it, and they're reinforcing that and closing huge amounts of puppy farms in the UK now. But they have now been pushed to the limit with the amount of children being attacked and killed, so now they have to act. I'd hate for us to act that late, that kids would be getting hurt, because they are the easy target for dogs. They see them like puppies. Okay, If you want questions, thank you so much again, and you've been a wonderful audience, and this is one of my first seminars ever in New Zealand, and it's my local town, so thanks, and I hope I was okay, but thank you very much. Cheers. Thank you. Oh, crikey, I'm so bad at promoting myself. Zara's going to beat me up after this because she was the brains behind it, helping me put a live course on for here in New Zealand. So it's a special today. I think it's not today. I think we got a special 40-50% off. So there's a course online if you like the way I talk, or I think I've got a books. I read it's a bestseller it was a bestseller in the UK for about 2 years, so that's pretty cool. That's me at the back, called The Way of the Dog. This is about not the breed instinct, this is about the tree trunk. This is about survival instincts, pack instincts, understanding what our dogs are. And that was that, and that's online. Stuart Barnes, dog behaviourist. Oh, I've got a lovely lady here. I know Sonia's going to hate me for this, but my wife and this lovely lady over here called Sonia, she did all the illustrations, and my wife did the writing, and we made some kids books for kids to understand what senses are about dogs and what they see and how they're different from us. And we did a little adventure, a dog and a duck, and then a dog and a sheep, and they cross. Anyway, that's there all online as well. And yeah, and you can book in if you want one-on-ones, but I'm online, and yeah, just Google me. So that will be easier. I'm not very good at selling myself. Yeah, thank you for that, Tristan. Thank you. All right. Thanks so much, everybody, for coming out tonight.